What's up everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, and yes, today is the last day of December, meaning that it is the last day not only of this year 2019, but it is the last day of the decade. And it's amazing to go back and look at some of the old photos, the memories that all of us have created over the last 10 years. And when looking over the last couple of years through memories and photos and whatnot, I've been thinking about things that I need to do to prepare for the upcoming decade and for the upcoming year. Because there are lots of churches, lots of ministries, lots of different companies and organizations that are using the year of 2020 to be the year of vision. And that's obviously a great play on the numbers and a great play on words, I guess you could say. But when you're thinking about what you can do to prepare for 2020, I wanted to leave you in 2019 with my final piece of advice for this year, and specifically how it can help you prepare for 2020. And so when I was thinking about ways to be able to help you prepare as a believer to move into 2020, this advice that I leave you with is to learn to listen this upcoming year. When you're learning to listen and you're learning to focus on listening to someone intently, you're thinking about how you can best represent Jesus to other people. Now, when I'm thinking about listening, I usually think about listening in terms of how we should be listening to God. There are multiple times throughout the Gospels, and you can see it in verses all throughout the New Testament, but specifically looking at Matthew 13:9, Jesus has finished giving his disciples a parable, and he finishes off with this phrase, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." And so when you're looking at that little phrase that comes at the end of a parable, most often we're thinking about the parables that Jesus has provided his disciples and us to be able to live and live out and learn from over the course of our lifetimes. But that phrase at the end has always stuck out to me, because when we're thinking about listening and he who has ears to hear, let him hear, I've been thinking, how can I apply that personally to my life as a believer in Jesus? And so when I've looked at that verse and been studying it, the one thing that God's really brought to my attention over the last couple of months, and even for this upcoming year, is this idea of listening. We listen, we learn what it means to actually focus on somebody's voice, not only focusing on what they're saying, but also being an active part of the conversation. And so when we're applying that to our lives as believers, that's really important for me, because I'm thinking, well, what am I trying to listen to from God so I can grow better as a person and better serve him as his child? And so when we're trying to figure out how to live our lives in that intimacy with God, we find ourselves trying to figure out ways that we can better listen to him. I mean, of course you can read his word. You can definitely surround yourself with friends and family and a community that's going to build you up in your relationship with him. But when we're thinking about listening too, I also want you to remember this as you're remembering to listen in this upcoming year. When you're thinking about listening, I want you to think about what it means to listen to those around you. Because when we as believers get in our own little circles and our own little cliques as we're moving throughout our lives, it's easy to become comfortable, I guess you could say, when you're thinking about listening to people in your own social circles. And it's easy to listen to yourself and say, okay, well, I understand what I'm doing and I know where I'm headed in my life and I know what I need to do to get there. And it's very easy to just say, I'm just going to listen to this set group of people that I've been surrounding myself with, which is great, and I encourage you to keep doing that. But I will say this, when you're trying to listen to people, specifically that social circle that's around you, don't be afraid to listen to people outside of that social circle. Now, I'm not saying that you should focus on negative critics or people that are not speaking life into your specific time that you're living in. But I will say this, listen to people and learn what it means to hold a conversation with those around you. Because there are many people around the world, and this lesson can be applied to anybody around the world. Because when you're thinking about listening and what it means to listen, there are going to be valuable life lessons that you can learn from just by listening to someone you may have never thought that you would have listened to before. Say that you're talking to someone from a different religious background, and you may never have considered talking to them or listening to them, but I'd encourage you. You don't have to just go over there and say that you agree with everything that they agree with, and you don't have to. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is this. Take time to listen to them. Because when we're moving into this upcoming year, specifically for Americans, we're going to be moving into a very vocal political arena. And so when we're talking about all these things that are going to be going on over this upcoming year with the election in the States and situations that are going all around the world politically, I'd encourage you, not only as believers, but as people who are faithful to listening to God, to learn what it means to listen to the people that are around you. Not just the people that are in your social circle, but listening to the people that may be around you in the subway or at the supermarket, or whether you're at work, or maybe you're somewhere out and about like the mall or somewhere else. Wherever you are, take time to listen to the people that God puts in front of you. Because I promise you, you're not meeting those people on accident, and it's not a coincidence. Because God's going to show you something and maybe teach you something that you may have never understood or thought of before. And He'll use those people to grow you deeper and stronger in your relationship with Him. So I encourage you, whether you thought about talking to a person that you haven't reached out to in a long time, or maybe you're trying to step out of your comfort zone and learn what it means to listen to people of different backgrounds, cultures, religions, whatever, I just encourage you to take that time to listen to them. Because when you're listening to those people, you're able to figure out, okay, so what do I know about these people? What are my preconceived notions about those situations or settings? And when you're thinking about that, you're going to be able to go into this new year thinking, I'm going to be more open as an individual and as a believer, and learn what it means to share the love of Christ and share the love of Jesus with people that, whether I agree with them or don't agree with them, or people that I may not even know what they think, I'm going to make an intentional effort to go out into my world, wherever that may be, and share the love of Jesus with those people by learning to listen, not only to God, but learning to listening to other people around you and seeing what God can teach you, not only about Himself, but about those that He wants you to love. Anyway, that is my final word for 2019. I encourage you, if you have not done so yet, take some time this day to really pray about what God wants you to do as a believer in this upcoming year. I believe He's going to highlight that stuff to you and show you what you're going to be working on with Him for the next couple of months. And I encourage you, take the time to be active and intentional in your listening to Him and to those around you, because I promise you, you'll never be the same. Anyway, that is my final message for 2019, and I'll be checking in with you at the start of the new year. Until then, be blessed.